So my original idea was to take the way our sales team aligns to our business unit rather than aligning to the parent company, which happens to be one of the largest publicly traded companies in the world. Um, and I felt, and this idea kind of came up just talking to other colleagues of mine, that the alignment should not be based on what the parent company thinks is good for our business unit, but rather what we think. And yeah, I was in full agreement with that. So I started this project to change. And I don't know, the short story of it is that it's much more difficult to change something in such a large organization, especially when your revenue is a $2 billion unit, um, or contribution to the parent company, right? We don't fix what's not broke. So in this instance, the alignment is not necessarily broke in the eyes of the decision makers, because we generate just over $2 billion a year for the parent company. If I introduced myself to the key stakeholders that would make this type of decision and this type of change, and when I presented the idea, even though it was well understood, well received, uh, I think the timing of it was bad, simply because we had just finished our Q4 for fiscal 18, and to implement that level of change in a short amount of time was just not going to happen. Um, Maybe for FY20, come next year, but this year it didn't happen, and I understand why. A lot of it was the timing, and just it's a massive undertaking to make this change happen. I think it was, like I said, it was well received, and moving forward, there might be some small changes along the way where the alignment improves. Instead of going into sending a sales team into a region and blindly saying, "Hey, here's some customers. You have to support these customers because that's what the parent company is doing." But how much sense does that make to our own business unit, right? So I think, you know, the decision makers are looking into it on better alignment. I think the learning experience here was that kind of have to pick your battles, right? I knew it was going to be challenging. I didn't even think it was going to work because of the the massive change that would be required in order for this change to happen. And so maybe sometimes we have to start out a little smaller, right? A little smaller of an idea. Um, Not something so massive that everybody says, "Well, hold on, I don't want to do this," and we don't really want to go any further than acknowledging the idea. So, baby steps. One thing I learned about working at this size of a company is that baby steps are required. Right? It's just massive change. Um, I got the right players involved, the decision makers. I wanted to meet. I just started with the company. Probably should have mentioned that early on, but I met all the key stakeholders. From top down, on who would be making this kind of decision or implement this type of change, and so that was really good. I got my name out there. I'm recognized within the organization, and so for that part, that part worked. But but yeah, I think the biggest learning component here is pick your battles, make them strategic, meaning small implementations or small changes that ultimately lead to this end goal that I had, which was this massive change. I think incremental changes along the way would lead to this idea up here without just going straight to this change level. So baby steps. I think that's about it. So I'm going to sign off, and had a great time in the class, and looking forward to seeing everybody at Meet a Wee.